Blood, blood, gallons of the stuff. I gave you all that you can drink, and it has never been enough. I gave you blood, blood, blood.
Hello everyone, it's your Bud. Today we will be talking about bloodbending from the Avatar universe, from Avatar The Last Airbender, and The Legend of Korra. Bloodbending has existed in myth and legend until one bender became strong enough, desperate in her struggle against the Fire Nation and her imprisonment, her only sources of water being the rats that infested the jail and the water in the bodies of the guards. But in order to do that, she would need great focus, power, and control, something only able to be achieved through years of training and with one more thing. Waterbending is something that happens in real life. As the moon goes behind the horizon, its pull is so strong it moves the sea. In great tides, the moon is the first and greatest waterbender. And on such a night when the moon is full, at its perigee, closest, and most expansive and still in the night sky, waterbenders are empowered by it, gaining even greater heights of strength, thought unattainable without such a gift. And in that prison cell, full moon after full moon, the witch of the water tribe made the rats move and dance like a sickening puppeteer, eventually gaining such mastery over the bending of blood that upon perigee, when the full moon hung closest to earth in the sky, she simply bent the jailers to walk over and unlock her cell. And then she walked out into the cool night air, out of the boiling, burning Fire Nation prison, with the powers to bend a person's blood and the anger and resentment of years of imprisonment to unleash upon the unfortunate citizens of the Fire Nation. And for how many years she continued to do this is unknown, but it would appear that for the rest of her life, from mid-adult to old woman, was spent bending innocent Fire Nation citizens and having them disappear one by one on the nights of the full moon, only to be discovered and stopped by Team Avatar. Bloodbending is a chilling power. I always get goosebumps when I see it in the show. It's so twisted and powerful. To not only attack a person, but to control and puppet them. Still, bloodbending holds even darker secrets and even greater powers. For the old water tribe witch was a single bender, alone and imprisoned, and at the end of her days she passed on the power to one more young bender. But there were yet more bloodbenders. How many more is unknown, although after the time of Aang and the meeting of the old water tribe witch, there were still bloodbenders in the subsequent generations. Now, before I discuss them, I would like to clarify what bloodbending is. We all know moving blood with bending is bloodbending. However, would spirit bending be considered bloodbending of spirits? And if so, spirit bending can either agitate by harming or calm by healing. And that would suggest that healing bending, like Katara is able to do, is some sort of blood bending. Healing does not occur without blood cells working to deliver and fix what your wound needs. And if you think of spirit bending as blood bending for spirits, then I think you can imagine bloodbenders agitating or calming humans with their bending. There could be good bloodbenders who heal. In this case, is Katara's healing powers a form of bloodbending that can tap in and activate the aspects required to heal, all of which is stored in the blood. I like the idea that bloodbending could heal, hurt, puppet, or just help weave your blood together into a scar or something to heal. Now, I mentioned that the old water tribe witch, a woman named Hama, would practice during the full moon, but in honesty, she could only practice her bloodbending at that time, for without the extra control over the elements and the power that the full moon provided, she could not perform her bloodbending. So if you see a full moon and are walking late at night, Hama might be there to practice her bending. However, there was another after her, Yakone, a powerful and tough man who forced his children to learn his power. Yakone not only could bloodbend, but was the first to be able to do so without the full moon. and over years his sons became able to as well. First practicing every full moon by forcing the packs of wolves to dance and sway to their will, and eventually untethering themselves from the requirements of having the presence of the full moon. Yakone was a powerful member of Republic City and held much power gained through his bloodbending. Though, as it was believed no one could bloodbend without the full moon, he was not convicted of the murders he committed for quite some time. And then, when he eventually was, the courtroom was full to learn of this strange case of an outlawed form of bending. And then Yakone, after hearing the verdict of guilty, used bloodbending to psychically render everyone in the courtroom unconscious. This included Aang until his avatar state kicked in and he captured Yakone and bent away his power, which is the removal of bending, blood bending, or is it spirit bending, or literally bending the element out of them. It feels like if the power of the element was not stored within the human body and Aang could bend it out of someone, then where is the power stored? Is it on some other plane and we only access it and Aang cuts off that connection? Or is the power residing within the person and Aang has to bend it out fully? In any case, Yakone was heartbroken and defeated, escaping to the Water Tribe to train his children and to take vengeance. Noatak and Tarlok had a rough childhood, always having to go to venture out in the cold to practice their bending in secret during the full moons. And then one day, instead of a pack of wolves or any other animal, their father took them out into the ice and forced them to bend each other. Noatak, the older brother, did as his father asked, but Tarlok would not bloodbend. And then when their father Yakone moved to harm Tarlok, Noatak bent his father, forcing him to be still, and then turning to his younger brother and asking him to run away from him and their life of cruelty. However, Tarlok would not. So Noatak left, running away from home, practicing his bending and learning of all its intricate skills, and eventually making his way to Republic City under a new name and with a new purpose, to equalize the world. Not nations of elements, but all as equals, a world without bending. His younger brother Tarlok eventually made his way to Republic City as well, as a councilman and eventual chair of the council, and on occasion would rely on his bloodbending powers to keep his power and complete the goals and wishes of his father. Amon, leader of the Equalists as Noatak became known, and Tarlok, the two sons of Yakone, both had such influence over the world of Avatar, and left their mark on Republic City, and their legacy is a part of Republic City's history. And perhaps there are even more benders out there sharing their skill. Bloodbending is really cool. The act of controlling the blood is brutally simple and devastatingly deadly. Alucard from Hellsing, as well as Ceres Victoria, are two that I think of when I think of bloodbending. Ceres' blood scythe arm and Alucard's release are both extreme forms of bloodbending, and much of Alucard's power could not be achieved outside of the world of Hellsing and in the world of Avatar, I would hope. However, here comes the gross and terrible part, when you realize that Avatar's a kids show and they cannot be too dark, because otherwise, bloodbending dead people would be a thing. A bloodbender with a horde of zombies, keeping them fresh by staying in the ice and cold like the Night King. Are the White Walkers a bloodbent army controlled by the Night King? And what about Magneto? He's able to control the iron in a person's blood, and can be shown to control Wolverine, who has more inside of him. Well, Wolverine has the adamantium, not iron. Would this mean that a metal bender or earth bender would also be able to bloodbend? It is an interesting thought. And then in Fire Force, I believe, there's someone who can ignite blood. I can't find who, as I haven't watched the entire show yet, but I'm pretty certain that there was someone who had the power to ignite the blood within someone, which just sounds edgy as fuck. That might be the wrong anime, but still, igniting blood is a fire version of bloodbending, and there could be many things that could be done that wouldn't be extremely fatal with that, although almost all of it would just be combusting a person. And there are also the needles of Sub-Zero from another anime, Blood Blockade Battlefront and Beyond. In this anime, one of the characters has the power to freeze their blood and send small micro needles of it into the other person, thus mixing their blood with their targets, allowing them to instantly flash freeze anyone who have had a needle of absolute zero put in their bloodstream. Making sure to send small microneedles into all his opponent's bloodstreams and then activating this power, all of their blood freezes instantly in a flash. And this can be done to multiple targets all around him at the same time. He can just have a frozen needle inside someone's bloodstream for, I don't know what the limit is, but then whenever he decides to, it activates. I think the first anime or show I watched that had the power to control blood was Dead Man Wonderland, which I will not go too much into here, as I can think it could probably get its own video. But in Dead Man, there are people known as dead men, because they are sentenced to death and must fight each other with different bloodbending powers. Some able to shoot their blood like bullets from a gun, others making swords or all kinds of cool and awesome bloodbending. I can't remember all of them, but there's a ton of awesome bloodbending powers in Dead Man Wonderland. And in Avatar, I think there may be one more use of bloodbending, but I'm not entirely convinced upon it. I think that some spirits might be able to bloodbend humans, making them turn around or look away, as humans are able to use spirit bending to interact with the spirits similarly. I think it would be cool if humans can spirit bend the spirits, and spirits can bloodbend the humans. Like, remember, I think it's in the beginning, Juan, and there's all those spirits, and like the spirits can like inhabit someone and change them. I'm wondering if they would bloodbend back then and be like, hey, turn around and walk away, and then just bloodbend the humans to leave their grove or something. I don't think that many spirits would bloodbend, but I think it would suit many of them, like the Face Stealer. So bloodbenders include Alucard, those of Dead Man Wonderland, Ceres Victoria, Magneto, some people from Fire Force, Blood Blockade, Ammon. Oh, I just realized Anon, that's anonymous. I forgot about that link. I forgot about the name link. It's been a while since I did that. I knew obviously that Ammon's mask is anonymous, but Ammon and Anon, their names, I always forget the names are so similar. And there's the original creepy witch of the Water Tribe, Hama, who tortured the Fire Nation citizens for decades, enacting her revenge on any who crossed her path on those cool nights when the full moon shone bright. And she walks the forest searching for her next victim. So there is ignition, freezing, metal bending, and of course your blood is how your body gets oxygen. So perhaps the most powerful airbender ever could be the best assassin, creating a small bubble in the vein. Apparently a quick search on Google says blood oxygen levels below 85% are bad, whatever that means. It's like, I don't know what it's like mercury percentage. It's this weird number. I don't understand it fully. And that oxygenated blood is only in the arteries and not the veins. Still though, just looking, it seems like there's plenty of oxygen in the blood, even though air is much more than just oxygen. So it can be debated whether a metal bender like Magneto bending someone's blood would have the same ease of blood bending as an airbender bending the oxygen in the blood. The only difference between Avatar and the other animes I mentioned is the real amount of blood in the body that Avatar sticks to. Avatar is very good in this regard. In Avatar, they never ever make elements appear from nowhere. There's always equivalent exchange, like Full Metal Alchemist. If an Avatar character made a badass blood sword out of their body, they would immediately faint from blood loss and collapse and die. There's no way to create blood using blood bending. Water is all around us, as is fire, air, and earth, but you cannot make more blood than your body already does, no matter how powerful a bloodbending master you are. The only way to have more blood than your own would be to have, I don't know, like dead people, sort of like water bottles, that they're like blood bottles and they're all dead people that you're bending with them, which is just gross. Bloodbending is terrifying. To lose control of one's body and be puppeted by one who has practiced and perfected such a sickening art would be horrifying. And one of my favorite Avatar episodes is the bloodbending episode with Hama. It's my go-to Halloween episode for Avatar. So creepy, and while it may not make you jump out of your chair, it leaves you with an uneasy feeling in the pit of your stomach, like something with the world is just off or wrong. Hama, Yakone, Amon, or Noatok as he is known, and his brother Tarlok were some of the greatest characters in the world of Avatar, and have had such an influence on the world, making bloodbending an outlawed and banned practice, feared because of the actions of one. At least that's what we know of. Hama's practice and Katara's learning of bloodbending were enough to inform Republic City to ban the practice, and Yakone, Tarlok, and Noatok were almost able to take complete control. There were only 5 bloodbenders in all of Avatar, one refusing to use her powers, that being Katara. The other 4 being Hama, Yakone, and his 2 sons, Noatok and Tarlok. And yet, with only 4, their influence upon the world is almost legendary, only the Avatar having such sway and power. Bloodbending is an interesting topic, a creepy and scary one, but an interesting one nonetheless. I really hope I gave enough of an overview with this video, but I was thinking about it over the past few days, and I think being succinct and just covering the basic facts of bloodbending is best for this video. There will be plenty of other videos of Alucard or other bloodbending vampires and things like that on my channel eventually, and there's already one called Noblesse. I'll put up a link in the corner. Noblesse is a vampire anime that I did a review of, so check that out if you want more people that control blood. And I don't want to end up stealing good content from some future videos just to make this one longer without really saying more. I think I mentioned all the ways you could control blood and how all the elements would be able to influence it, but there's one more thing. Could airbenders create a layer of air around a person and force them to move that way? I think an airbender would bend the body of a person and still puppet them in a similar way. Although this would not be bloodbending, an airbender could only bloodbend if they could somehow gain control over the gases and oxygen in the bloodstream. Anything with blood can be controlled by a bloodbender. That includes the dead. So bloodbenders could have large hordes of shambling undead that they could bend with speed and efficiency and power that would make them even more powerful and agile than when these bodies were living. Like Pito, I think that's her name, P-I-T-E-A-U, Pito, the cat girl from Hunter x Hunter who fights Gon about Kite. Like Pito puppeting herself in Hunter x Hunter when she fights Gon. They show how she puppets herself beyond her normal physical limits by using her nen to pull, push, and move her form faster and stronger than before. This could be done using bloodbending and even done upon dead bodies. Bloodbending could strengthen or weaken someone, make them dizzy, ill, or sick, or be fatal with a moment's action. And it is one of the most powerful and underused bending in the Avatar world, mostly because of its banned nature. Although perhaps one day that may change. Well, thanks for watching everyone. I really enjoyed talking about this. Bloodbending is sweet, and I wanted to do a history of bloodbending while still covering the cool powers and versions of it from other shows and anime. If you want to learn anything more about bloodbending, Avatar, or any of the other shows I've mentioned, like Dead Man Wonderland or Hellsing or anything like that, then you just need to leave a comment below and I'll be able to make some more videos on those topics. Leave this video a like if you want more of the Avatar world. There are always more things to talk about. I'm thinking King Boomy might be a good video next, and if you have any ideas, just let me know. Leave any questions or suggestions in the comments below, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video. Thanks for watching.
Blood, blood, gallons of the stuff. I gave you all that you can drink, and it has never been enough. I gave you blood, blood.